Welcome to issue 230 of Marauder Champions Monthly, a podcast about Marvel Champions, a living card game by Fantasy Flight Games. Here, we take a good look at that most critical piece of the game, the Marauders. We'll discuss those poorly understood characters, unfairly labeled villains, and their various plans to shape mutant kind and benefit the planet, as well as those so-called heroes intent on thwarting them. I'm one of your hosts, Maka, and with me tonight is Mike. Oh, wait. No, he's not. That's right.
He's not here.
Keep it. Totally keep it.
I don't know what happened to Mike. I certainly did not see him earlier in the back storeroom of the Villainous Lair.
I know you two guys. He's got it out for you. So we snuck you in here. So should appreciate that he's not here. He's got a bone to pick with you about some protection.
Please don't go into the back storeroom until after I'm gone.
Okay, no problem.
In place of Mike, we do have Daniel, however.
Hello, welcome back, Chris. Great to have you.
Why, thank you. And also Steve.
Chris, welcome back. Welcome back.
Well,
it's been a while. Feels like it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been. I was very excited when you asked me to jump back in and talk about perhaps one of the most exciting topics that we could talk about.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Neither can I, but I mean, I guess before I go into my villainous rant or monologuing, I suppose, Daniel, was there anything on your mind tonight you wanted to talk about?
Oh, Chris, thank you. It's funny you should ask. So here we are. It's August. It's been summer. You guys are dads, right?
Yep.
Now,
last time I checked.
Okay, so I think I can't wait for school to start again.
Already.
Now, it's not because, kids are annoying or anything like that. Guys, when we were kids, summer break was not kind of lazily sitting on an iPad and watching screens, right? Like I feel bad. I feel like I need, wife and I were working all day or whatever. Like we're not entertaining kids. They will not default to nothing much to do. I'm kind of bored. Let me create a thing, which I feel like I remember. Maybe I'm remembering this incorrectly, but I don't think so. Like we had to kind of make stuff up and enjoy the boredom, revel in the boredom, and it turns into this thing to create something. That's just not how they do it these days, guys. And it's like,
the amount of crazy, dangerous things we did as kids when we were just kicked out of the house.
Yes. I want those back, Chris.
I played my fair share of video games, okay? During the summer. I had a single mom who worked, so I was at grandma's house, and she didn't either. I was quietly playing video games, or she did exactly what Chris was saying. She'd say, "Get out of the house and don't come back until the street lights come on." And I would get on my bike and I would just ride. No cell phones, no communications, no care for how I was going to eat that day. You could go anywhere outside.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the parents were so concerned about us, they didn't even blink an eye when we disappeared for 12 hours.
Nope. Zero care.
Right. If my picture didn't show up on the back of a milk carton, they didn't know I was missing. Go.
And we would just bike around. We would just, I don't know. Different times.
We terrorized the neighborhood. Now, my children, we have some crazy summer rules, Daniel. They are not allowed to use their electronics until 5 p.m.
Wow.
They despise that one.
You must be the least popular parent in the house.
Yes. They have to read for half an hour. They have to play their instruments for 20 minutes. They have to do all of their chores. They have to go outside for 2 hours.
Wow.
And they have to be up by 10 a.m. We don't let them sleep too late.
You're so much a better parent.
Credit to my wife. My job is just to enforce these rules.
Both my kids got up at noon today, Steve.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't have as much to worry about with that as I think I've told people many a times. Our son does gymnastics. He's currently in the summer. He's got 23 hours a week of practice.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So he's pretty much always at the gym.
Well, that's cool.
My daughter's still playing softball. Seems to never end. They all go to softball camp and they have scout camp. We're doing camp and football's about to start. So like,
Did they rope
they
you
are
into
busy.
being a coach?
No, I'm a scout leader, and that is all the time I have time
That's
for.
funny.
So,
Based on
yeah.
how you describe that, that seems well. It's hard to send my kids outside in DC, and it's 113 in the summer every day. So
Yeah, here in the Midwest, it basically has been raining about every 3 to 4 days since May.
I remember
So-
rain. Okay, but Steve, we're not here to talk about our children and summer and heat and iPads.
Mhm.
What? Chris is here. That must mean something special
Yeah.
is on the docket.
Chris is here because we're doing a Shadow of the Past.
Ooh,
We
okay.
are still talking about Marauders, and we are finally going to talk about the most important of all the Marauders, Angel's Nemesis, Harpoon.
Okay. I remember him coming up earlier. All right.
I expect this
Okay.
to be the
Oh.
ultimate of lore segments on our Marauders. So Chris is gonna tell us all about Harpoon.
Oh.
We're gonna look at the Nemesis set, and maybe we'll reference back to the villain card and the minion mutant slayer card. Just for reference. It's been a while since folks have heard those.
I mean, Steve, Harpoon's significance is such that we basically slotted 45 minutes for Chris, right?
I got an hour and 15. So
Hour 15. Okay.
I'll try to keep it brief then.
Okay,
If I've
all
only
right.
got an
Good.
hour 15.
okay.
I mean, if I had a nickel for every time in college that I scared off a girl by just talking about Harpoon all the time, I'd have at least like a quarter. It was an awkward college for me. I
Hey,
won't lie.
Well, why
right,
don't you
so-
tell us?
I'm
About
sure we all have
Harpoon,
those
then?
moments, Chris.
All right, so we're gonna start this off real quick
Ooh,
with
I
a
love
pop
it. Ooh.
quiz. All right,
Been a
Can't
bit.
wait to lose another one. Here we go.
about how long ago was Harpoon first seen?
Like as in the comics.
Yeah, how many years? About how many years ago was it
When he was first seen.
when Harpoon was first seen?
Well, everybody jibber jabbers about these Marauder / Morlock things in the 90s, right, Steve?
Yeah, well, I thought it was like 1986 or something. The Marauders came into being, so I'm gonna say 1986 and figure out the math from there.
Okay, I'm going to quickly figure out the math and say 38 years.
There you go.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to think about how long ago 1986 was because that'll depress me. But you're
Too
both
late.
wrong
Oh,
by a
what?
wide margin.
What?
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah. So the first instance that we have of Harpoon in history is about 90,000 years ago.
Wait, in history,
Yeah. So
Oh.
in the Katahdin region of Zaire, they found some Semliki harpoons, also known as the Katadanda harpoon, about 90,000 years ago, and so most likely they were used for
wait, you're actually talking about harpoons?
harpoons, not the character Harpoon.
Yeah, that's what you brought me on, harpoons. So anyway, and then
Oh.
they were used a lot in the Paleolithic times. And like there's even cave art in southern France that shows drawings of seals that have been harpooned. I mean, we can go back to, 90,000 years ago, 16,000 years ago. Even if you want it more modern, I mean, the Greek historian Polybius describes hunting for swordfish using harpoons, not only with a barbed head like we're used to, but actually a detachable head. And then they're even mentioned in the Bible, in the book of Job. It actually says, can you fill its hide with harpoons or its head with fishing spears? So harpoons have a long and storied history in mankind, going back tens of thousands of years. Now, most people are probably more familiar with them in a little bit more modern times, like Moby Dick and the whaling fleets and everything.
Jaws.
And one of the reasons that harpoons were so effective with whales is because whales are a little weird. Like when they get pierced by like a harpoon, their blood vessels are not designed to kind of seal themselves off or anything. So they will bleed out just from, being pierced by a harpoon or two because it just doesn't stop bleeding. Yeah.
Huh.
Now, the problem, of course, with whaling and with harpoons is the problem is if you can't get to them quick, the whales sink. So they tried all sorts of things. So like even in the early 1700s, about 1730s, they designed explosive harpoons. Now,
They did.
no surprise, something
Doesn't
like
that
that.
ruin the merchandise?
It came from the Brits. So, I mean,
Yeah, okay.
so these were cannon fired harpoons. And what would happen is they would fire them and they would explode. Unfortunately, they still ran into the problem where most of the whales would sink before they were retrieved. So in the 1800s, they tried rocket fired harpoons. And then what would happen is the shell would explode when it hit the whale and impale the whale with the harpoon. And then, obviously it's attached to a boat so they could try to pull it back in. The hope was that the explosion, it would generate enough gas within the whale to kind of keep it buoyant and floating. So they would have time to reel it back in and get them. These were, not only were they called like rocket harpoons, they were also called bomb lances.
Boy, the things we do to murder stuff, huh?
We are a very inventive species when it comes to that.
So, Chris, what did they anchor the string to from the harpoon? Was it because, like, when you look at, like, when you read Moby Dick or you look at, like, whaling whatevers, they would send out, like, smaller boats to do the dirty work, right?
Right.
And so
most of
how
the time,
does a million-ton whale not just drag that boat around for miles and then sink? Yeah, like you're saying. So a lot of times, if it was like, so the cannon fire ones or the ones that were sent from the ship were usually tied to the ships because obviously a full ship is bigger, so the whale would have a harder time doing problems with that. The smaller ones, I think they still typically did them on the smaller boat, but they might have, and I'm still doing research on this. I got a whole other story that I only have an hour and 15 minutes, so I can't go into my dissertation that I'm writing for my PhD candidacy on harpoons. But they would. You saw Jaws, right?
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Yeah.
I assume.
Yeah, of course.
The movie Jaws. So, you attach it to something that maybe is buoyant or that will float to help try to keep the whale up. Now, obviously, if they don't get a good shot in, the whale could still get away, or if it's tied to the boat, could pull the boat or wreck the boat or something like that. That's why that's why it was such a dangerous job, and that's where, the cannon harpoons and the rocket harpoons and the exploding harpoons all came from. It's kind of like the Penguin, but with harpoons.
Okay.
So, and then again, so if you go to more modern whaling, even though whaling in most countries nowadays is illegal, most of the world says no to the whaling, but unfortunately, whaling still does exist. So the modern harpoons are usually deck-mounted launchers, like basically another cannon, but more modern. And so the projectile, it's a very large harpoon, and it has an explosive charge. I think, if I remember correctly, the explosive is penthrite, and it's attached to like a thick, sturdy rope or cable. And so the spearhead is designed, like, I'm sure we've all, spent times looking over harpoon catalogs and browsed through the different kinds. So we're all familiar with what a harpoon head looks like. I mean, we all have those tales of Christmas catalogs looking through and what we're going to ask Santa Claus or Krampus for. So obviously it's designed to go into all those layers of whale blubber, get stuck, and then it has spikes so that it can't get pulled back out. And so that cable, that rope,
I don't want to interrupt you.
This is fascinating, Steve.
It is fascinating stuff, and but I'm a little worried we're giving our minions too much harpoon information because I worry they might use that against us a little bit.
But Steve, there are loyal minions. What do you mean?
Okay.
Yeah, well, most of them are. We still got people out there with collars on.
I mean, we all have we all have our collection of harpoons at home. I mean, it's not like I'm probably telling anybody things that they don't know.
Yeah, that's true. But I wouldn't mind if you would tell us a little bit more specifically on the Marauder character with the name Harpoon. I mean, are we getting to that? Are we working our way there?
The comic book character?
Yeah, the comic book character Harpoon from the card game.
No. His name is not Harpoon.
Oh.
His name is Kodiak No Attack. Don't use Harpoon.
Guy.
Colonizers.
Well, that's what it says on the card.
Okay.
I don't know these things. That's why we brought you on.
Sure, you believe the card. Okay.
Okay.
So, fine. You know what? If anybody is interested more in harpoons, just hit me up after the show, and I'll be happy to share my dissertation with you. But
Okay.
I guess I'll talk about Harpoon, the Marvel Comics character. Okay, so Kodiak.
This
no
is
attack.
actually kind of disappointing. I was really into the harpoon stuff. But okay, go ahead.
We can
right.
talk more off air. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes, Steve, you were right. His first appearance was in Uncanny X-Men number 210 in October of 1986.
Nice work, Steve.
I was right. I win.
He first showed up with the Morlock Massacre, which they retconned to have, Gambit lead them into the sewers to find the Morlocks and kill them all. So he was part of that original Morlock team with all the various, Vertigo, Riptide, Grey Crow, all those folks.
Mm-hmm.
So he came through and he slaughtered a bunch of Morlocks and he tussled with the X-Men. One thing that he did manage to do, he was going to actually take out Rogue because Rogue had lost her powers.
Oh.
But Shadowcat jumped in front of her as he was throwing his harpoon. And even though she was phased, Harpoon still hit her and it stuck her in her phased form. She could no longer turn solid.
Sweet.
Let's see here. What else?
Now, wait a minute. His harpoon, do I understand it correctly that his harpoon has some special abilities? Like
the harpoons do not. So Harpoon, his mutant ability is called longitudinal object conversion.
Does that mean he has good aim?
No, what that means is he can convert long objects like harpoons or spears, probably a javelin. I don't know if an arrow is long enough to work. Yeah,
flag poles. Okay.
I mean, I suppose like a fishing pole or a
broom
cue
handles.
if it became worst case scenario, something like
Gambit staff.
Yeah, absolutely. He steals that. He can absolutely chuck that at somebody using his bioenergy. So what he does is he can fill these long objects with this bioenergy, but he can change what the energy does. So what he has to do is he charges it, and then he has to throw it to transform it into the energy. He can't just like, oh, I've got a staff, and I'm going to fill it with energy and then bop you on the head. No, that doesn't work. He has to actually throw it.
Oh, okay.
And so depending on what he...
But does that include shooting? Because like his card art, he's shooting a harpoon gun.
See, I don't think that would work to my understanding of it, but maybe it does. He is quite the mystery. And I'm not even sure if that's a harpoon. I guess that's a harpoon gun in his card, but that's a very odd...
He's got it pictured like 3 times in his set, but we'll get to that.
So,
in all of his art in this game, it's clearly a harpoon gun. Yeah.
So depending on what energy he wants to fill the weapon with, the harpoons they can do things like they can stun a person, they can shock them, they can paralyze them, it can kill somebody, it can explode them, or it could even disintegrate someone.
Wow.
I'm not really sure why he just doesn't use the disintegrate as
all
default, but I mean, I'm sure he's got a reason.
Okay.
So that's his power, basically, is he takes things like javelins, harpoons, spears, and when he throws them, he fills them with energy, and they can do a whole bunch of crazy damage and things. So he took out Shadowcat. Let's see what else. At various times, he's been killed, brought back to life, lost his powers in the House of M and the No More Mutant saga, then got it back, then he died again. And at the moment, he's dead.
Oh, now.
Yeah. So the other big thing that he did was one time he attacked, he and Blockbuster, another one of the Marauders, attacked Angel. And Harpoon actually pinned Angel to the wall, stabbing through his wings with his harpoons, just like a butterfly in a 5th grade science project. And that actually led to Angel's wings being damaged, and then they got amputated, which led him to originally take his own life, but that was retconned to say his plane was sabotaged, which then got Apocalypse to turn him into the Archangel of Death, and then all that jazz. So in some ways, Harpoon is directly responsible for Archangel.
He's responsible for screwing Angel. He's screwing up Angel, screwing up Shadowcat. Like he actually does a pretty good job of messing with the X-Men. Yeah.
He really does. And I couldn't confirm it, but I saw somebody mention that. So there was a brief period of time that Colossus couldn't change back into his human form. Somebody said that was Harpoon was responsible for that as well, but I couldn't actually find that confirmed anywhere.
All right, so Harpoon sounds like he has messed with the X-Men a little bit. He's taken off Angel's wings. He's permanently phased Shadowcat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he sounds fairly powerful.
He's got a ton of story.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good body count up on him with even just with the Morlock siege. So it is a shame they don't show him that he never got showed off more. He was in the Age of Apocalypse saga. He was what was he? Was he one of the Infinite guys? He might have been. But yeah, he doesn't have a lot of appearances, and at the moment he's dead.
Oh,
okay.
Well,
So-
geez. Okay.
That was it. Okay. I guess it's time to look at some cards then. We're going to be looking at Angel's Nemesis, which comes in the next evolution wave. Obviously, the Angels pack. 5 total cards, 4 by title, plus the obligation. And as we learned earlier, Mike is not here to read the obligation.
Wait, are you sure?
Wait.
Hold on.
Nope. I have a feeling he might be trapped or pinned in the broom closet or something. Storage room.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure he's not here. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Daniel, why don't you give us the obligation?
So, apocalyptic influence is an obligation. Give to the Warren Worthington III player. When revealed, if you are in Archangel form, place 2 threat on the main scheme. Otherwise, change to Archangel form. Alter ego action. Deal the first player 1 encounter card. Discard this card, and it has a hazard icon and 2 boost icons. It's very different from our standard issue obligation.
Yeah, now Archangel, Angel, Warren Worthington III, it's a triple-sided card, right? So you could be in Angel form or Warren.
Yep.
It
Now-
forces you to change.
But let me ask you a question. What is the point of making you change to that form when, like, the acceleration token on that form would have already gone off, right?
Right.
I'm assuming it's a little bit more thematic because, Apocalypse made Archangel. So you're like reverting to your evil form.
But it sends you there automatically, and then you can still do your...
I mean, you could still flip back, but...
yeah.
You can still flip back, but you're not going to... It sort of like forces you into a starting point for your next turn.
Yeah, I guess it forces you into not...
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't let
But
you
you'll
flip
never want
into...
to... You don't want to end your turn in Archangel anyway. So it sends you to Archangel form where you can do all the cool damage, and then you flip back to Alter Ego and just... You don't even have to exhaust.
Right, you get an encounter. Well, you deal the first player an encounter card.
Yeah, you deal your friend an encounter card.
Yeah, this is kind of a fun trolling one because it's they don't have a choice in the matter. I just say deal the first player an encounter card, and with the hazard icon, they were going to get one anyway, so they can't really complain about it.
That's right. That's right.
But you're still like, yeah, you take an encounter card.
Yeah, well, I think what it does by force, well, if you're already in Archangel form, you can put 2 threat there. I think by forcing you into it, it does not allow you. If you want to get rid of it, you're starting in Archangel. You're going to flip to Warren, and you're stuck in your alter ego form, right? So it's like if you were able to flip to alter ego or stay in alter ego, you could clear this and then immediately flip back into hero mode. So it's forcing you your next turn. If you want to clear it, you're going to end up alter ego. So
it's situational. Sometimes it's nothing. Other times it's I had my whole turn planned out as Angel. And everything got blown apart when I got forced into Archangel, or the threat is too high. I can't afford to go down to alter ego right now. And in Archangel form, you can't really do anything about. You can't do a whole lot about threat, so you're going to be stuck in using your form change to go to Angel, and then you might be stuck in that for a round or two. And
it sort of messes with your plans. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, it's effectively a hazard card that
Yeah.
it never leaves. It's only discarded. It's not removed from the game. So
Oh, that's a good point too. That's right. He never gets rid of it.
yeah, I wouldn't say it's the hardest one. It's just sort of like,
But it's interesting and it's different. So I applaud it for that.
yeah.
Well, speaking of interesting and different, Mika, why don't you give us the minion of the hour?
All right, here we go. Harpoon is a minion with 1 scheme, 1 attack, 6 hit points, and the Brute and Marauder trait, and his attack has an asterisk. Harpoon gets +1 attack when attacking a character with the aerial trait.
Love
Then
it.
it says, when revealed, discard cards from the top of your deck until you discard an event. Take indirect damage equal to that event's printed cost. And he comes with 2 boost icons. Now, I have a funny story about the Harpoon minion that I was playing a couple weeks ago with some friends, and I was the angel character. And unfortunately, we were playing with standard 3, so I got the 3rd pursued by the pass counter, so my stuff came out. And I only had 2 hit points left. And so Harpoon came out, and the discarded cards in the event was a 4-cost event. So it killed me.
Yikes.
Which, of course, means he passes to the next player in line, which was Deadpool, who had just died in the hero form during the hero turn. So he was in alter ego form with 1 hit point,
Oh.
and he killed Deadpool.
Wait a minute.
Well, why
When-
did he kill Deadpool?
Why do you? Yeah,
Because
it's
in
when
alter ego, he can't. Oh, no, I guess he wouldn't have, because it's when revealed. I guess we
It's when
played that
revealed.
game, didn't we?
It's,
Oh,
really,
revealed.
it's not when
It's not like
engaged, so
Yeah. It was still funny, though.
which isn't to say he couldn't just kill
Yeah.
Deadpool alter ego somehow, but
Well, if he would have gotten flipped up if he was in the encounter deck. This is the win revealed. It doesn't matter if you're in hero or alter ego. You're just taking indirect damage.
and you didn't bring any friends, huh, in your deck?
I think all my allies at that moment were off on the mission.
Okay.
Okay, so he's a 2 attack when he's going after Angel,
Mhm.
right? Because Angel and Archangel both are aerial, which is good because he's his nemesis, and some of those events are fairly expensive. For
Yeah, Angel has some expensive events.
he's got some 3s in there, right? He's
Got a lot of threes.
mostly
Yeah.
2s, but there's quite a few
He's got a
3s
lot
in
of
there.
threes.
Yeah.
Iceman also wouldn't like to see Harpoon come up.
Yeah. And 6 health. I mean, yeah. His when
It's kinda
revealed is
decent. Yeah.
his when revealed is great because that's going to
Yeah.
hurt anybody, right? It's even if for somehow you had no events left in your deck, you just decked out, right?
Mhm.
So you're still going to
You're
end up with an encounter card. So
Yep.
yeah, interesting.
Love it.
All right, so let me tell you about his side scheme called Hook, Line, and Sinker, which I don't know. Do you use those sinkers and stuff for harpoons? It feels like more of a
No.
fishing
No,
thing.
you
but-
would actually
yeah.
really not want to do that.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, and it says, I'm going to bag me a bird or an angel. Each attack from a brute enemy deals indirect damage. Forced response after a friendly character takes any amount of indirect damage. Exhaust that character. 2 threat per player with 3 boost icons. Okay, so the boosts are good. 2 threat per player. Anybody takes any amount of indirect damage, they get exhausted. And brute enemies are dealing indirect damage. So he's a brute. All of
A
his
lot of those
variations.
Marauders are, right?
Yeah, there's quite a few brutes. Anybody else that might be a brute, if you're playing with a villain who's a brute, that can change things around, right? If you're playing
Mhm.
like Absorbing Man or something like that, Wrecking Crew or something along those lines could be interesting.
Yeah.
Wrecking Crew minions.
Only downside to this one is the order of operations says Harpoon minion comes out before the side scheme does.
Yep.
So that
Oh,
the when revealed effect is not going to exhaust the characters.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's been the case for quite a few where it's minion side scheme then shuffle in the other cards, and there's been quite a few where if it was side scheme minion, it would really ramp things up.
Yeah.
But that's not
Hmm.
how it goes. So
Now, do you guys agree that this guy's got top 5 worst haircuts in the game?
yes.
Okay. It's really like 83, like He-Man kind of hair.
I was thinking it's like Scooby Doo villain hair.
Mm-hmm.
And then they pull the whole head and face off, and they're like, "It's old man Withers under here."
Yeah, I mean that hair. But kudos to the artist because his hair is bad every card.
Regardless of the artist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like he has a lot of appearances where we have to put up with the hair for much.
Yeah. Well,
Right,
okay. Okay.
Okay, Daniel. Harpoon has a harpoon, I think.
And it's cleverly called Harpoon's Harpoon.
Woo! Yes.
This is a weapon attachment that gives him +1 attack and an asterisk. But you attach to Harpoon. If Harpoon is not in play, you search the encounter deck and discard pile for him, reveal him, and attach this card to him. If you cannot, this card gains Surge. So I like that other people can't use it. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Force response when he attacks. After Harpoon attacks you, take 2 indirect damage. Okay.
Yep.
That's a great attachment. Any attachment that goes and finds its owner is villainous to the extreme.
And they put that you reveal Harpoon, not just put him into play, so his win
So he
reveal.
does his thing, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it fetches Harpoon, and then Harpoon's thing triggers. That's good. That's great. Beefs them up a little bit.
Yeah, if his side scheme is still out, then he's exhausting characters too.
Yeah, it's
Love
interesting because the Harpoon attachment makes his attacks indirect. The side scheme makes his attacks indirect. So they definitely want you to do indirect damage with Harpoon. that is the theme they're leaning into. So,
but thematically, it makes no sense if he's shooting a single harpoon that you could do like 4 indirect damage to 4 different people.
it should be like piercing with overkill, maybe. Yeah.
Yes, but
Something like that, right? You definitely want piercing with overkill.
But you're forgetting about longitudinal object conversion.
Oh,
That can make it a splash effect.
right.
I totally buy that, Chris. No art suggests that as a thing.
No art. Yes, none of this. Not one piece of art.
It is all a harpoon gun with a thing on a string.
Basic harpoon. Yeah.
That's the secret of Harpoon. He's not actually a mutant. He's just a guy that likes to go shoot Harpoon.
It's like, I was out fishing one day and these guys are like, "Hey, you want to kill some more locks?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, all right." And here I go. So
because his hair is the mutant thing.
yeah.
All right.
One last card, Chris.
All right. We have 2 copies of Spear Shot, which is a treachery. It says, when revealed, discard cards from the top of your deck until you discard an event. Take indirect damage equal to that event's printed cost. If that event has the aerial trait, this card gains Surge.
Oof.
It has no boost icons, but it does have a boost effect, and that boost effect is take 2 indirect damage.
Okay.
So, I mean, again, it's discarding cards, taking a chunk of indirect damage.
Yep. Cool for any character that would do damage that way, which, yeah.
I mean,
isn't him.
it's leaning into the deal damage. 2 indirect damage is a boost. Indirect based off your event. It milled your event. It might surge, and it might surge specifically against Angel.
Sure.
Right. Because Angel's has most of his events have aerial on them, and you're building a deck with aerial and all that kind of stuff like that. And if the side scheme is still out, you get exhausted as well for that indirect damage. So
yeah. Characters that have a lot of tough probably really dislike seeing Harpoon come up.
Yeah.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
I think with this deck, with the side scheme specifically as a real focus here, if that can stay in play, or if it's in play and you take 3 or 4 points of indirect damage, so often I will see people, I'll put 1 point here, 1 point here, and 2 points there.
Mm-hmm.
You just exhausted all those characters if that side scheme stays out.
Yeah.
So you have to reevaluate, do I just pile it onto my hero, right? Or does somebody jump in the way that Harpoon and we all get speared together or whatever? I don't know. So it's an interesting set. It is on brand. Yeah, it's on theme for the villain. The villain was choose, take 2 indirect damage, or he gets extra boost cards. Take 3 indirect damage. His Mutant Slayer's card is take indirect damage, or his attacks get bigger with piercing. So they've kept the theme throughout.
Yeah, it's definitely a very cohesive theme of a set.
Yeah. I just wish the art had like longitudinal
Yeah.
Techno-babble comic wording.
Longitudinal object conversion. Come on, it's just rolls right off the tongue.
That should be his side scheme.
Yeah.
Right.
I-
Yes. Or a hook, line, and sinker. Each one of those were like that's an anagram for longitudinal for something conversions. So
LOC.
Oh, golly.
LOC.
yeah.
Yeah. I understand they wanted to keep the Marauders theme going with the X-Force set, but I was a little disappointed when we didn't get Cameron Hodge, who was the guy that actually cut up, made sure that Angel's wings got cut off and explodes his private jet.
Nice.
That wasn't like a doctor at the hospital that snipped his wings?
Technically the doctor did, but Cameron Hodge is the one that set it all up to have them amputated while Angel was unconscious. So he woke up after the attack with the Marauders with Blockbuster and Harpoon. He woke up in the hospital after they had been amputated.
It's rough.
And then he becomes this weird, like crazy robot thing that with just giant robot body with his head. Because I think Archangel cuts his head off at some point.
Sure, because that's how it works. That's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do we think as a Nemesis set? What's the grade, Daniel?
It seems so. It's a great set against Angel, but it's a thematic weird one. I just don't quite get. So, jeez, I'm gonna give this one a C.
Whoa.
Like
okay.
It does a consistent thing that is cool, but I just don't get it for the character and what, Chris gave us a story that I don't think shows up on these cards.
Well, I mean, he talked about different kinds of harpoons, and look, every art has a different kind of harpoon dating back 90,000 years.
True, but it's still a harpoon on a string.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Shot out of a gun.
Yeah. Chris, what would you give it?
Yeah, I think I was probably going to give it probably a B-, because it's one of those that it's certainly, as we talked about, it's got that single unified theme, so everything plays off of the indirect damage, which is nice. But I would agree that why indirect damage with Harpoon? That doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. And there's going to be many times where the cards just not whiff, but just aren't that big a deal. So I give it props for keeping the theme, and I guess Harpoon kind of makes sense as the Angel Nemesis, but it's kind of.
Is there a better one, Chris?
Again, if I might have done the Cameron Hodge guy, because he was a big thorn in Angel's side and caused him to like I said, lose his wings, which led to the whole Apocalypse and Archangel thing. So he was a big villain for a while. So I think that made a little bit more sense for the character, but I understand why they did Harpoon.
Yeah, I mean, at least Harpoon was involved in causing the damage. So
yeah.
All right.
What do you think of the set?
I
know
like
grades
it.
beneath you, but
yes, great. Oh, that's a good way to put it. I'm definitely leaning more towards Chris's assessment. I like it mechanically. I think it's fun mechanically. I take issue with like the art theme and not seeing his mutant powers in use, and that goes right through to like the villain and the Mutant Slayer minion version.
Yep. Every card we got.
Yeah, and every card is not comic art. Every image of him is not comic art. So that maybe is a failing of the art briefs or the art director or whatever. And I don't normally I don't try to go there, but I think as a Nemesis to Archangel, it seems like it should be pretty good. I mean, Chris said he died to him, so hey, it works. So, yeah, and he is our final Marauder character that we were going to talk about. Yeah, we still have On the Run to discuss, which involves the Marauders, but like as far as Marauder villains and Marauder minions, Chris was here at the end of all things.
I'm glad you're with me, Mika. Here at the end of all things.
Oh, the Shire and Rosie Cotton. Don't tell my wife I was thinking about Rosie Cotton.
Stays here. Secret stays here.
Secret stays here because she doesn't listen to the show.
I I wasn't going to say that, but yes.
No, we know none of our wives listen to this show. Yeah. Hey, does your wife listen to our show? We want to know. You can email us at criticalencounterspod@gmail.com. We are Critical Encounters on Facebook. You can find our YouTube, Twitch, or Patreon by searching for Critical Encounters Podcast. And on Discord, we're Vardain, Big Fun Loaf, Wandering Took, and Maka. Go out there and check out Night of the Living card game YouTube channel. Chris's stuff, it's great. And if you like our show, tell your friends. If you don't like our show, tell your enemies. Harpoon, take us out.
Foolish children, save yourself from the energy weapon of Harpoon! Yeah, all his lines are pretty scenery chewing. Nothing that lives can survive the power of my energy lances!
Throws and spends harpoons. Yeah.
You are fast, Beastman, but not fast enough to best Harpoon.